Just going to share my screen and then I'll just ask someone to pop the thumbs up for me. Breeze or Shan, or that's who I can see at the moment. Yep, lovely. Cool, guys. So, habits and routines. So, what we want to do is essentially make our brains run on autopilot. And a lot of the theories that I'll be teaching you today is what I've both used on myself and I've obviously used with clients for a very, very long time. Now, I know some of you know my journey, some of you don't, but I've not always been fit and active and self-motivated. Quite the opposite. Obviously, I spent pretty much from the ages of 18 to about 24 classed as morbidly obese, couldn't find any motivation, would be a big effort to even go on a walk, never drank any water, couldn't even spell the word protein. So it's not like I'm just telling you this out of somebody who has been born motivated, although none of us are born motivated, and I'll talk about that. These are things that have really, really, truly changed my life and changed a lot of other people's lives as well. There's multiple theories tonight, so it might be that you resonate with a couple of them, you resonate with them all. I don't necessarily want you to go away from this and try and implement everything because, again, we don't want to become overwhelmed. Um, we want it to be manageable. So, what am I going to be going through today? Why habits beat motivation, how behaviors are formed, the habit loop, which is very important, we all understand that, why all or nothing thinking keeps people stuck, how to build discipline that gets easier over time, and turning habits into routines that fit real life, use structure, planning, and time blocking to stay consistent, and how small actions repeated daily create long-term results. Just out of interest, if you just pop in the comments for me, so obviously I can address some of these tonight as well. What bad habits have people got that they've struggled with for years? I mean, mine used to be overeating on a night time, for example. It could be skipping the gym, not doing your steps. Like, what bad habits do you guys think that you have at the moment that will hold you back or have held you back in the past? Snacking, eating chocolate while the kids are in bed, bedtimes, nibbling, chocolate, drinking wine, cravings at night, not eating breakfast and getting steps in. Cool. Well, definitely the cravings at night we're covering tonight as well. Emotional eating, great one, Kerry. I'll be talking about that. Eating in the middle of the night, eating kids' leftovers. Cool. Thanks for being so honest. Bedtime routine. Lovely. So we've got a mix. It's all very similar, as you can see. Most people struggle with the same problems, which makes my job a little bit easier. Oh, have we got anything else? Wine definitely for me. Once I start drinking, I want to eat the house. Well, that is a cue era, and we'll talk about that tonight. So, the habit loop. So, habits form a predictable neurological pattern. So, the brain learns through repetition, not logic, which we all should know by now. But when you think about it, when I talk about it, how you think about it, it'll all make sense. Every habit, whether it's good or bad, will follow exactly the same loop. And understanding the loop helps you control the behavior. So once we understand this loop, we'll be able to better control our behaviors. And a lot of the time, the reason why me personally and other people ended up in a situation where they're overweight, unhappy, unhealthy, lack of energy is down to the habit loop, is repeated behaviors over time. So, cue slash your trigger. So this is what starts the habit. So this is the signal that initiates the behavior. So we don't just do something, we have a cue, even though we might not be consciously aware of it. That can be internal, so it can be something we're thinking, we're feeling, or it can be something external. So something that we see, our environment, something that somebody says to us. And it often happens without awareness because if we were aware of it, we probably wouldn't do that behavior if it was a bad habit. So examples of cues can be time of day, like a lot of you have mentioned, the evening equals snack time. It's not the evening that is the problem, it is the cue and it is the repeated behavior. So when it gets late on an evening, if you've consistently snacked and overate at night, your brain is going to go, it's time for overeating, it's time for snacking, because it has been trained to do that like a muscle. Location, sofa, TV, food. If you're somebody who sits on the sofa and eats, if you're somebody who sits in bed and eats, what is going to happen every time you sit on the sofa? Your brain's going to go, food. So it's going to be very hard to sit on the sofa without having the feeling of hunger. Yeah? Emotion is a massive one. So stress, boredom, tiredness. You could be happy and want food. You could be sad and want food. Emotional eating is a huge one, massive problem that I used to have. People, people around you. So if you've got a partner that's going, oh, let's just get a takeaway tonight, screw your diet. That's when we've got to be nice and strong. And events. So for me, Friday night drinks were a massive one. I used to work in the city and Friday at 3 o'clock, everyone was going to the pub. If you weren't going to the pub on Friday, what were you doing? So there's multiple different reasons why something can cue, where something can start, and you need to really start associating yourself like with what is causing what. When do you snack? Where are you sat? Who's around you? When do you order a takeaway? When do you want to go for a drink? And start understanding the cue of the habit. Because if you don't, we can't fix it. Yeah, Joe, that's a good one as well. Cue examples in real life. So alarm goes off. What do a lot of people do? Scroll the phone. They walk into the kitchen, they open the fridge, they sit on the sofa, they turn the TV on. They finish dinner, they want something sweet. You know, if you're constantly having something sweet after dinner, you're never going to feel satiated after a savoury meal because your brain's going, well, the sweet's next. And you feel stressed and you crave comfort food. So there's multiple different examples. Why the brain wants the habit. So why does this happen? So craving is the desire to change how you feel. And I really want you all to really understand that line. When we crave the chocolate bar, it's not the chocolate bar that we actually crave. And I know you're all probably thinking, well, it is. It's the feeling that the chocolate bar gives you. So that feeling of satiety, comfort, sweetness. It's actually the emotion and the outcome that we're craving, not the thing itself. Yeah. So, for example, if you're an alcoholic or you're alcohol dependent, it's not the wine that you're specifically craving, it is the mind numbing and the lack of having to think that you might be craving. But that is the bridge that is bridging the gap. So you don't crave the action, you crave the outcome. Cravings are emotional, not logical. So common cravings, it could be comfort. You could think, oh God, I need a bit of energy, I need some sugar, relaxation, distraction, and reward. So when you're, and I'll come on to this, when next time you have a craving or you've got a bad habit, you want to think about the outcome. For example, Joe just put then is like, I want to get snacks on the drive home to keep me going. We know that driving doesn't burn a lot of calories, so we don't need a lot of fuel for it. That will be to distract the boredom of probably driving. So we could fix that behavior, and I'll come on to that. So, craving examples, chocolate or any type of sugar, which is comfort, stress relief. Phone scrolling, a lot of the time that is distraction and escape. Procrastination, snacking, relief from boredom. Alcohol, relaxation, switch off. A takeaway is ease and no effort. There's loads of different craving examples I could give. Then the response, so that's the second part. So the response is what you actually do, and it only happens if it feels easy enough. If a habit is really hard to attain, you usually don't do it. Like if you're craving chocolate, for example, and it's snowing outside and you don't have a car and you had to walk 20 miles in the snow to get a chocolate bar, would you do it? Probably not, because the behavior is too hard. So the response is only ever going to happen if it's easy enough to respond to, not if it's too hard. Like I've worked with a lot of women who alcoholics, alcohol dependents, and a trick, I say a trick that I used to use, which worked really well, is instead of, removing alcohol completely, which I don't think you should remove any kind of craving completely, is make the habit harder. So I used to make them go stash the wine in the furthest bush in the garden or down the street because it's making the response harder. The wine is available, but it's a lot harder to respond to that craving. And a lot of the time it's, smokers will smoke less in winter because they don't want to get wet because the response is harder. Yeah. So the brain is always going to choose the low effort option. Our brains are designed to survive. Yeah. We're not designed to do hard things, unfortunately. It's always designed to pick the easy route. So, example of responses obviously eating the snack, skipping the workout, scrolling social media, ordering food instead of cooking, staying on the sofa. They're all very easy responses. They require very, very little friction and very little effort. Why the response happens. Again, the behavior must feel achievable. If it's too hard, it won't happen. So what do you think we do if we want to make a habit less prominent in our lives? Make the bad habit harder to achieve. Make the response harder. The environment is going to heavily influence your response, and I can't say that enough. If you have things around you that you know are easy to achieve and the response is easy, it's going to make the response far easier. If you've got, you snack at night and you love chocolate and you've got a fridge or a cupboard full of chocolate, you're setting yourself up to fail because the response is way too easy. And convenience often beats intention. Convenience is always going to win over intention. You can have the best intentions in the world. Convenience is always going to win that. Ultimately, so if we know that our brains work on convenience, let's make our lives a little bit less convenient. You fancy a burger or a pizza, you can have it at your door most places within 20 minutes. Our lives are built on convenience. You stood at a train station, there's a vending machine. It's just everywhere you drive, there's a McDonald's. It's convenience, convenience, convenience. And especially in our home environment, we need to lessen that convenience to lessen the response. Reward. This is the important aspect. The reward teaches the brain this works. It reinforces the loop and it makes repetition more likely. You've got to think like bad habits is like training a muscle. The more you do it, the lighter the weight gets. And it's as simple as that. And that's why if you've had binge eating problems for 10 years, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get out of that for somebody who's just had one episode of it because it's like a muscle that has been trained. The types of rewards are things like dopamine hits, which is mostly linked to food and drink, emotional relief. Oh God, I don't have to go to the gym now. Comfort or pleasure. Oh, I don't have to go outside in the rain and the cold to get my steps in. Reduce stress and a sense of completion. So the brain actually tricks us that it's a reward. Doing the action is a reward. Our brain doesn't know that it's not a reward. It doesn't understand that. Our brain doesn't know that we might be 10 stone overweight and or coming up to the term of diabetes and we shouldn't eat the chocolate. It only knows what is reinforcing the habit and reinforcing the reward. Reward examples, again, sugar, instant pleasure, scrolling, dopamine hit, skipping gym, relief, takeaway, convenience and taste, alcohol, relaxation. And the funny thing is about alcohol doesn't relax us at all. It actually increases our resting heart rate, it impacts sleep. It has so many, many adverse effects. Yet emotionally, we have just created this loop. It's on the TV since we were kids, women coming home, opening a bottle of wine after a hard day's work. We have just been taught that it relaxes us. Neuroplasticity, wine and alcohol do not relax us. They do the quite opposite. If I've had a client on a heavy weekend, their heart rate is 10 to 15 beats per minute, above average from the week prior. It's quite shocking. So it does the exact opposite, but we've just learnt the behaviour that it relaxes us. Full habit loop. So if we talk about evening snacking, because that's something that's quite prominent with everyone, the cue is the evening. The TV's on, you're tired. That is the cue. You're craving comfort and relaxation. Your response is a snack or a sweet treat. And your reward is temporary relief and pleasure. So as you can imagine, you keep reinforcing that behaviour night after night, week after week, year after year. Your brain thinks the only way to relax and to give myself pleasure is to comfort eat because it's a trained muscle. Yeah. Full habit loop example for exercise habit. Your morning alarm, you crave energy, you crave accomplishment, your response is your gym session, your reward is your endorphins and your confidence. And I'll always get people say to me, how are you so consistent? Like for the past 5 months, I have not missed a single training session and I train 4 times a week. I've not missed a single one. And it's nothing to do with being a highly motivated person. I'm quite the opposite. I mean, no one's born with motivation. It is the fact that because I've trained for so many years, that if I'm in a bad mood or I'm stressed or I'm tired, in my brain it's saying, right, you need endorphins, you need more energy. And I've just trained my brain to thinking exercise is the is the response, which it is now. So that's why me going to the gym, every other day pretty much, it's like a relief for me. It's like a stress reliever, and it's not something that I struggle with a motivation for. Do sometimes I think, oh God, I'm really cozy in my house. Do I really want to go to a freezing cold warehouse gym? I mean, yeah, come on. It's not like I'm jumping for joy, but the friction is far, far less because A, I've got the result from doing the action, which reinforces the motivation, but I've also used it as a coping mechanism. And that's why I say when you're sad, when you're in a bad mood, when you don't feel like it, that is when you need to do it. Because what it's going to do over time is reinforce your brain that that is your response to that emotion. And then suddenly, takes time, but when you're in the pits of despair, you're not sacking everything off. You're actually doing more because you're using it as a coping mechanism. And that is why, and I'll talk about this more at the end, set days and set times are really important for the brain, also for recovery, because what I used to do when I used to skip the gym a lot is I would say to myself, right, I'm going to go, I don't know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'd move Monday to Tuesday, then I'd be too sore on Wednesday, then I'd move that to Thursday, might end up doing it Friday. Shit, after work drinks, can't do it Friday, hungover Saturday. Shit, I've not really done my workouts this week. I've maybe done one and a bit. But what happens when you do that is that you're constantly craving that relief of not training, but you're just sat in guilt. Whereas in my head, my training days are Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So I have Wednesday off and I have the weekend off, but I usually just go in and do a bit of extra stuff if I want. I know if I don't want to go train on Tuesday, my rest day is the next day. Do I really want to be training on my rest day and then having three back to backs? No. So it gives your brain that temporary relief that that rest day is coming up and it allows you to push through that specific day if you know when your next rest is. If you're moving your workouts as they're convenient to you in your life, you will never build a habit loop. You'll very much struggle to enjoy training, and it will always be a punishment and a chore rather than a relief and a stress response. So, where you can, and I know it's difficult because some of you have complex jobs, kids, lots of different responsibilities, try where you can, stick to your days, and then when you don't want to train, think, well, I'll just go do it because I get a rest day tomorrow, rather than sitting in the guilt. I think sitting in the guilt of not doing something is actually more painful than just doing it. And what I used to do is like future pay. So when obviously years ago when I really struggled, what I started doing was thinking, right, well, I'm going to be sat on the sofa at 7 o'clock tonight. How am I going to feel if I've not trained? Probably disappointed, probably pissed off with myself. And then it makes you not want to sit like that because you know everyone knows the feeling when you've eaten too much and you feel like shit, when you've not trained, when you've skipped something. It's guilt. I felt guilt. And sitting in the guilt is not relaxing. Easy, just go do it. So start thinking about how you feel. And if you do skip a workout, write down your emotions on your notes pad on your phone. How did that make you feel skipping it? How do you feel tonight? Temporary sense of relief, but it's temporary. And every time you don't want to do something, get that list up and look at it. Why habits repeat? The brain's going to prioritize efficiency. We're always going to try and be as efficient as we can. Familiar patterns feel safe. The more familiar something is, the more it feels safe. And that is why gym anxiety is a huge thing because people see the gym as a threat if they've not been in there before. And everyone jumps to worst case scenario. What if someone looks at me? What if someone laughs at me? What if someone's talking about me? What if I fall over something? Because our bodies and our brains don't like anything that is out of our comfort zone because it's perceived as threat. Because ultimately, all we're trying to do as humans is survive on this planet. It's survival of the fittest. So all these emotions and all these things, it's just a scenario in your brain's made up to keep you safe. I spent like a year of my life driving to the gym, sitting in the car and driving home and never stepping foot in the gym. But you've got to see it as we've all got this little bubble around us, which is our comfort zone. Every time you do something that puts you out of your comfort zone, you're making it bigger. You're making it bigger. You're making it bigger. And then before you know it, things just don't bother you. I literally fell over a barbell on my face last week. And at one point, I'd been devastated and probably been embarrassed to go back in the gym. I didn't even think twice about it. I laughed. I've got a massive bruise on my shin though. But it's funny, how you don't care anymore, but it takes time. And that's why repeated behaviors are really important. Reward strengthen neural pathways, and I'll talk about brain plasticity in a minute. You've got to see it as this is the thing that you want to achieve, and this is your habit. When you've not done that repeatedly, not done it for a long time, you've got a time between it. And at the start, it'll be like a bloody floss. It'll be like a floss, a string of floss, which is easily broken. Once you repeat that and repeat that, it's going to get thicker and thicker and thicker. Before you know it, you've just created a new brain plasticity. And this isn't something I'm just telling you. Like if you Google neuroplasticity in the brain, habit formation, it exists. It's been proven time and time again, and they're like bonds. So the more repeated behavior we do something, the easier it becomes. Tracking your food won't feel like a chore. Training 3 times a week won't feel like a chore. Hitting your 10K steps won't feel like a chore. Because you've done it that much on repeat, it removes friction from the behavior. But the only way to get to that point is repetition, and you have to repeat it. I think this is a oh no. Habits versus routine. So a habit is something that is automatic and requires little thought. We want more of good good ones of these. Routine is something that requires a consistent effort. Routines become habitual through repetition. The more that you stick to a routine, the easier the habit becomes. How hard do you think it would be to stick to a routine of training if one day you did it on a Tuesday night, then you tried to do it on Thursday morning, then a Sunday afternoon? It's never going to become habitual, really. Very hard to, because routine requires a consistent effort. And like I said, doing things at the hardest point. When you're having the worst day of your life and you just want to go home and get on the sofa, go to the bloody gym. Because again, you're reinforcing that response to stressful situations in a stressful environment. Um, and then eventually it just becomes like repetition. Do we think in the morning? I mean, some of us might, but do you ever wake up and go, oh God, I really can't be bothered to brush my teeth. I can't be bothered to brush my teeth before work. The effort to brush my teeth is just beyond my capacity. No, because if you got to be out of the house at 8 o'clock, you just put the toothpaste on your toothbrush and you brush your teeth. You don't think about it. Why? Because it's become a habit. Why? Because of routine. It's something we all do in the morning. It's not, it doesn't require a lot of friction because we've repeated it. The only difference is the behaviour's been repeated. You know, moving on. Why bad habits are easy? Clear cues, immediate rewards, low effort, high emotional payoff. Yeah, you can drink a bottle of wine in 30 minutes. I mean, I could. I don't know if you could, I could. And what's the immediate reward? We're drunk. We don't care. We're happy. What an easy habit to have. Doesn't require any effort. And it's instant, isn't it? It's instant. We never go to the gym and instantly drop 2 dress sizes straight after it, do we? No. So that is why it's a lot harder because it's not any immediate, there's no immediate payoff to that behavior. Yeah. Why good habits feel hard at first? Again, rewards are delayed, it's required effort, and there's no established neural pathway yet. At that start, it is the hardest. It is. Your first 8 weeks on this group coaching program will be a lot harder than the last 8 months of the year. They just will. Because, I mean, some of you have and some of you haven't. I'm just talking collectively of the majority of you. A lot of you have never really considered your protein intake. You've never really considered tracking your food. You've never really considered drinking so many litres of water a day. You've never really considered your step count. So all these things that I'm putting in place, high effort. And you're probably thinking, Sophie, piss off, don't ask me to do anything else. But it's because we haven't established a neural pathway. Everything's delayed, so you're not going to get any instant gratification. And like I mentioned last week, some of you might go up in scale weight. I mean, bloody hell, and that's why people quit. I'm putting all this effort in and I've not lost any weight. There is no reward. Why should I bother? Yeah, we've all been at that point, at some point. And you probably will be at that point at some point during this process. Um, Brain plasticity. So why change is possible? So like I kind of made that demo, we have bonds here in our brains. We all do. Brain adapts based on repetition, new habits and new neural pathways. Old habits weaken when not used. The less you do a bad habit over time, the less you will respond to it. Because just as we build strong neuroplasticity, we can also weaken it. But we can only weaken it if we don't action the behavior. So, how you need to think about it is, and again, you have to be very conscious of this and you have to be very conscious of your mind, is when you crave something and you want something and you say no or you tell yourself no, just think I'm breaking that bond down. Next time I say no, it'll be easier. The next time after that, it'll be easier. And it will. And it will absolutely be easier. But you've just got to say no to yourself and, again, have a little bit of self-discipline. Neurotransmitters and habits. So, dopamine is always going to drive anticipation and motivation. So we can't rely on it. We're not sat there flooded with dopamine at 7 o'clock on a Thursday night thinking, God, I can't wait to go to the gym. Yeah. But that is what's mainly going to drive it is your dopamine. Habits train dopamine responses. So your dopamine is released to certain responses, but your habits train your dopamine response. So if we want to be happier and we want to enjoy something more, we have to do it more to release that dopamine response to that behavior. So highly stimulating habits create strong loops. So things that highly stimulate us. Training stimulates us, it increases our heart rate. Walking stimulates us, especially walking outdoors, because as humans, we're looking for danger. We're looking at trees, we're looking at the scenery. These are all stimulating activities. So it's going to train your dopamine response and make that habit A, more enjoyable and easier to achieve, which is what we all want. Addiction and the habit loops. So the same reward pathways are involved, and it's not about weakness, it's about reinforcement and repetition. Yeah. And if you think about addiction, for example, you don't ever meet somebody who's a heroin addict and saying, oh yeah, one day I just woke up and I just was a heroin addict and I just wanted to take heroin. They probably started smoking weed. Then they probably started taking cocaine. And it's because over time that repeated behaviour didn't quite give them that dopamine hit. So they moved on to the next and they moved on to the next. And it's how most habits are formed through repeated behaviours and lessening of the dopamine response. Why you don't break habits. So a lot of the time I'll get, oh, I want to break this bad habit, or, I even say it sometimes. Habits are never going to disappear. We just simply need to replace them. So we can't just break a bad habit. And that's why I hate things like no sugar for a week, detox, and all this type of stuff, because we can't just overnight break a habit. We need to replace it because your brain still wants the reward. So the only time you're going to be able to change it is you swap the response to the cue. We can't change the outcome. Our brain wants dopamine. Everyone's brains want dopamine. But what we can change is the response to the cue. Sometimes we might not be able to change the cue. So, stress at work. Could we deal with stress management a little bit better so then we don't have many cues? Potentially. What can we put in place so the cue's not as severe? But the response is the main one because we want to swap our response to that behaviour because cues are always going to come up in our lives. We're always going to walk past, I don't know, the bakery. We're always going to, have a stressful day. We're always going to be tempted by, Uber Eats. So the rule of habit change, we identify the cue. So we identify, right, every time I sit on the sofa, do I eat? Yeah, well, we identify that. So think about some of the cues and some of the habits you have in your life, and then start to write down what your cues are. I used to drive past McDonald's on the way home from work. So it just got habitual for me at that queue. I'd see that M sign. I've just finished work. And I felt like I deserved, double cheese, large fries, mozzarella dippers, sweet chili sauce. I felt like I deserved it as a reward for the work I've done at work. So I was rewarding myself with food. What does that create? Emotional eating. Um, so understand the cue, identify the craving. So every time I eat savory food, I crave something sweet. So the cue might be sitting down for dinner after a long day. Change the response. So this is the most important part. We need to keep some type of reward to the cue because our brain's going to want dopamine. And yes, sometimes, what I say, if you're getting that sweet craving, is wait 20, 30 minutes and see if you still think about it because usually you forget because the response to that behavior is immediate. And if you delay time, you're breaking the cycle and a lot of the time you'll forget. So I've done it before where I've been like, I mean, the other day my grandma gave me some of a birthday cake to take home. And I remember thinking, oh, after my tea tonight, I'll have a bit of that birthday cake. And while I was eating my lunch, I was like, I can't wait to have some birthday cake after my tea. I've completely forgotten about the birthday cake. It's been in the fridge for 2 days because I've delayed the response of the behavior. Yeah. So it happens all the time. Um, and then keep a reward where possible. We're human beings. We're like dogs. We like rewards. So we still need to think of a reward system that is going to help with that dopamine. And I'll talk to you about some rewards we can do for ourselves that are not going to keep us in this habit loop. Remove a bad habit. So notice when it happens. You need to be really aware of your brain. So every time you get a craving, every time you want to skip something, notice it. Say, right, I'm noticing that behavior. What I like to do is like you can name like your alter ego. So give it a name and be like, oh, it's Sharon talking, separate it from your identity. It's really useful. They teach that in cognitive behavioral therapy for anxiety and depression to separate the behavior from your brain. So give it a name. Oh, Sharon wants a chocolate bar, she wants a glass of wine, and start trying to remove the identity as yourself. It can really help. Notice when it happens, identifies what's triggered it. If something happened at work, even is your house a mess and it's making you stressed out? What is it that's making you feel that feeling to want to do that behavior? Ask, what am I actually craving? And replace the behavior, not a need. Are you feeling sad? Do you need a little bit of comfort? You know, how are you feeling? And then replace that behavior. If you need a bit of comfort, you're feeling a bit lonely, ring one of your friends, ring one of your family members. Find a way to create that comfort that isn't going to be food. Even in snacking, so obviously, like I said, your cue's sitting on your sofa after dinner, your craving is your comfort relaxation, your response is snacking, your reward is temporary comfort. So we need to find something that comforts us that isn't the food. and replace the response and keep the reward. So, for example, herbal tea, low calorie dessert, hot shower, a comfort activity, put on a face mask, paint your nails, do something that gives you the feeling of comfort and reward rather than the behavior of the food. Um, and obviously, low calorie desserts and things like that can help. But again, I don't particularly like it because it's still the reward of the behavior. You're just swapping it for something that might be lower calorie. So this whole big low calorie dessert things and people making these big low calorie evening snacks and these snack things, personally for me, I don't necessarily think it's helpful because I think we should be replacing the behavior with a different action rather than just trying to damage control. Yeah. So you can look at it a couple of different ways. Stress eating at work. Again, a lot of time we will eat while we're working and not even register we're eating. It's like a habitual thing. So, stressful meeting or deadline, you crave relief, emotional regulation. You would snack on something sugary. Your reward is what you think is temporary stress relief. So, again, leave the desk, go outside for 5 minutes, stand up and breathe. Physical rest interrupts the loop. And I know you're probably thinking, well, that's not going to help me. Again, it is a physical reset. We're in a loop that is an immediate response to a cue that happens immediately without us even thinking about it. We need to do something physically to break that loop. Again, that's why smoking's super addictive because people go out, they're stressed. They go out for a cig. You'll see people at work do it. And then it's stress, go out for a cig. And then suddenly smoking relieves stress. I mean, if we looked at smoking, I used to be a smoker. There is nothing chemically that smoking does to relieve stress. Nothing. It actually makes your nicotine receptors on fire. But it is just the fact that it's just been a learned behavior from an action. That is simply it. And that is it for everything. Replace the response. Walk, breathe, music, tea or coffee. Reward remains relief and calm. Do things that bring you relief and calm. Instead of buying all the snacks and all the, stuff that you'd have on an evening, again, a lot of money, buy yourself a nice face mask, book yourself in for a half day spa. So you still want the response of the feeling of calm and the relaxation element, but you don't want obviously the immediate threat. Phone scrolling before bed, again, one of the um one of the most common ones I would say. Yeah, Ira's put what I've started doing having herbal tea. Yeah, brilliant. Hot chocolate. I mean, hot chocolate's a good one as well because it's a drink, it's not a food, and it's still low calorie. Um, it's one of the worst things you can do. Obviously, blue light keeps us stimulated. So most people get into bed, they want a distraction, they want to switch off, and they'll scroll the phone, which will give them mental escape because they're scrolling looking at what I eat in the days from a lot of influencers, and then it's making them forget about their life. And a few people are laughing because I know you all do it because I used to do it myself. Again, I used to tell myself, and again, I still have this habit sometimes I've got to get out of it. I'm like, oh, I'm doing market research for my next content. No, I'm not. I'm never going to do a 5 booty build a day post. So we want to change the cue. So obviously leave your phone outside your bedroom, alarm clock instead of phone, lights dimmed earlier. So you want to change that cue. You don't want to associate your bed with your phone because you'll get into bed and you'll go straight on your phone. So that's the cue. And then the response, again, sleep podcasts, journaling, stretching, reading. Reading's a good mental escape, especially obviously fiction books. Get yourself into a good fiction book. It makes you tired as well, and it's still giving you that mental escape. The phone is the most addictive thing because it's an immediate response, and that is why if we think of TikTok, for example, which is like the biggest growing app, why is it so popular? Because it requires minimal effort. You just go like that. The videos are short, very, very stimulating. It's just a marketing genius, really. There's nothing about it that's morally going to necessarily help you in any way. But also, as well, when you are using social media at night and you are on your phone, it's creating thought patterns. Like you'll be looking at something and think, oh God, I didn't think about that. Oh, maybe what shall I have for my tea tomorrow night? Oh God, that's a good idea. I'll write that down. And it's starting to open a whole can of worms in your brain that you just don't need. Yeah? Or you'll see some, oh, I wish I looked like her. Oh God, look at them. And it starts bringing up a whole host of thought processes that you just simply don't need. So overthinking, not being able to sleep, stress at night, mainly linked to phone use. Um, Skipping workouts. It's the end of the day. You crave rest and relief. What do you want to do? Skip the gym. It's going to reduce your stress. Who wants to be going to a pure gym at 5:30? I mean, it's my idea of hell. I'm sure it's a lot of other people's idea of hell as well. Um, that's what we want, the reduced stress. So make things easier. Pack your gym clothes in advance. Go straight to the gym, don't go home to stop. Schedule gym like an appointment. Again, you need to make the action easier. If you've got an hour's drive home and then you've got to find your workout clothes and then you've got to get back in your car and go back out, I'm not saying everyone can go directly from home. It's really difficult. Every morning I wake up, I put my gym clothes on. It's a bit easier because obviously I've got a job where I do it for a living, but if I just stayed in my pajamas till 10, 11 o'clock and then tried to get myself changed and tried to get myself going, it'd be horrendous. As soon as I wake up, I don't even go downstairs. I get changed, brush my teeth, and then go downstairs once I'm fully ready, because otherwise it's going to create a delayed response and it's going to create friction. So even like packing your gym clothes, what I used to do when I used to work in an office is have a couple of pairs of gym clothes in my boot and a pair of trainers. Have all my gym stuff in my boot of my car. So it was never like, oh God, I've got to go home and get my things. It was just always in the boot of my car. Yeah. So make the action easier to achieve. Otherwise, there'll be too much friction with that action. Replace the response. Again, I always want everyone to attempt it. So you could have a shorter workout. You could walk instead of a full workout session. You don't want this all or nothing thinking, and I'll go on to that shortly. But, for example, you have genuinely worked over, your train's been delayed, you've not got back till 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and it wouldn't be feasible for you to say, go train at the gym, put your shoes on and go for a 30-minute walk. There's always going to be something better than nothing. What our brain really likes and what people like to do is a way out. Our brain's always figuring a way out of a situation. Oh, well, I couldn't eat healthy. Everyone ordered pizza. Or, I couldn't not drink. Everyone were drinking. It's like, it's just an excuse response. Everyone loves a way out. Oh, I couldn't get to the gym. There were traffic lights. I don't know. I've heard it all. Been doing this long enough to hear it all. Do something rather than doing nothing. Again, reward remains relief and movement. So the longer that you allow yourself the excuse and the longer that you give up, the easier it will be for your brain to give up. So rather than maybe doing the behavior that seems unachievable, do a different behavior that's not as intense or not as much friction, rather than doing nothing, because something's always going to be better than nothing. Um, Takeaways after long days. Again, you're tired, you're hungry, you ease convenience. Your old response is ordering takeaway. Your reward is no effort fast food. Good example for me tonight. It got to, what time was it? Maybe quarter past, 20 past 6. And I was like, shit, I haven't eaten my tea yet, and I've got that call, and I don't want to be eating after the call at 8 o'clock. And I've got no food prepped at the moment for my evening meal tonight because I'm meal prepping tomorrow. And I was like opening the fridge and I was like, shit. I was like, what am I going to do? Old me would have just got two slices of bread, smacked a lot of bread and, jam and butter on it and gone, well, I don't have time for anything else. I didn't even think like that. I knew I had some raw chicken breast in the fridge, whacked it out, chop, 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 onion, chop, handful of spinach, banged it all in the pan with olive oil, bit of spinach, I don't know if I said that, can of tomatoes, boiled some pasta. I had the meal cooked in like 15 minutes. And then I quickly shoved it down my throat and then came upstairs and done this call. Was it stressful and was it a bit intense? Yeah. Would it have been easier to have some jam and butter? Yeah. But, it's doing something rather than doing nothing. Was it the most delicious meal I've ever eaten? No, I don't think there's any salt and pepper in it. But I've still ate my protein. I thought, I can't imagine going on a call and being like, oh yeah, I've just, had two slices of big, thick, lovely Warburton's tiger bread with loads of bread and butter on it, loads of butter and jam on it, and I'm doing a motivation call. No, so just do the hard things sometimes. Keep the reward and change the system. So pre-prep meals, 10-minute meal options, good healthy grabs at the front. Again, don't have all your lovely things that you really highly palatable at the front of your fridge. Like visually, set your fridge up for success so what you can see. Again, I will talk about meal prep till I'm blue in the face and getting things organized, because I don't know about you, but when you're ravenous and you've got nothing cooked, all your brain's going sugar, carbs, sugar, carbs, sugar, carbs, because you're too hungry to think straight. Why? Because our body's designed to survive. So it wants the higher calorie food as quick as possible in our system. So your environment is just setting you up for failure, essentially. You think, oh, sack it, I'll just take 10 frozen fish fingers out of the freezer, put with the air fryer. Because you can't compute effort in those scenarios. So if you don't allow those scenarios to happen, A, you should never get yourself that hungry, but also you need things that are ready to go. Because there's many a times that I'd have definitely ordered a takeaway if I didn't have meal prep. Many a times I would have done that. Because we want convenience. We all want a convenient life. So make your life more convenient. Don't make your life harder. Don't buy a load of bloody chicken breast and mince and vegetables and have it all in your fridge not prepped and think, God, if I want to cook a meal, I've got to chop a pepper, I've got to chop an onion, I've got to chop a garlic clove. Because you're creating so much friction. It's not convenient, is it? So you're probably not going to do it. um, Change the environment, not yourself. I can't, you know, talk about this more. The environment is so, so, so important. Remove trigger foods from sight. Remove them altogether. You know, I don't want to hear, oh, well, my kids like chocolate. Well, your kids can have a chocolate bar once a week when you take them out somewhere. You don't need 10 multi-packs of chocolate in the house. Make good habits visible. Make things visible that are easy. Reduce friction for desired behaviour. So again, meal prep, getting your clothes out, time blocking your time. Reduce the friction, make it easier. Set aside an hour on a Thursday and an hour on a Sunday, which is me, for example, or a Wednesday, for your meal prep days. Set it aside, boil your eggs at the start of the week. I couldn't be bothered every morning waking up and then boiling eggs or like baking a potato. I just couldn't be bothered. Even myself, who, promotes this for a job, I wouldn't have the patience or the capacity. So you have to make the change the environment, not yourself. Your brain's always going to think in these patterns of behaviour. In order to change the brain, we need to change the environment. Don't have loads of bottles of wine sat in the door of your fridge because you're going to look at it and think, oh, I want a glass of wine. There's been so many times, especially for me, I've not even thought I've wanted something and then I've seen it and then I've wanted it. But I've not wanted it until I've seen it. So look at your environment, make good habits visible, and then create less friction for the good things that you want. Swap examples again: fruits visible, snacks hidden, gym bag by door. My mum hates my gym bag. She trips over it every single day, but it will always be next to the door, forever be next to the door. Because I don't want to be thinking, oh God, where's my where's my headphones, where's my lifting straps? Oh God, I can't be bothered. Because the longer you take yourself to get out of that house, the more excuses can come up. Oh God, that washing needs doing. Oh God, I could do with back in the house. People will do anything not to do what they need to do because the brain loves a way out. So make everything easy. Water bottle on desk. Again, how do I drink my water? Give me tips. Please, no one ask me that. You put the bottle to your mouth and you drink it, but have it visible. Mine's bright yellow and it doesn't leave my sight. This comes on planes with me. It comes to the toilet with me. You'll never see me. If I were going dating, it'd come with me. It goes everywhere. It's visible, yeah? If you can't see something, you're not probably going to feel like you need it. And again, with the thirst one, over time, your bladder's going to strengthen. Don't panic and you won't be needing to wee all the time if you're feeling like you are at the moment. That will strengthen. But to strengthen your bladder, you need to repeat the behaviour. None of this, oh, it's Monday, I'm going to drink 3 litres of water and by Thursday I'm a shriveled prawn because your bladder's not going to strengthen, but have the bottle there. Have one next to your bed if you need, one in the car. Mine's just like an emotional support water bottle at this point. It doesn't leave me. But if you're going to bed or if you're driving without water, put them in all places in your house so you've always got it accessible. You can see it, you're going to drink it. Um, Pre-cut veg, again, I think the only vegetable I cut is onions and peppers. The rest, frozen. Convenience. Make your life convenient. All my berries, frozen. Just make everything convenient in your life so it's not hard to do. Because the most of the time while we eat shit food is because it's the most convenient option. That is usually the only reason. Reducing friction for good habits, like I said. If we've got Yeah, get a veg chopper, Holly said. I know I bought a really cheap one off Temu and it was terrible, so I probably need to invest in a good one. Because I bought one ages ago, I was like, oh bloody hell, I'm not doing this. Um, but yeah, for example, like all your knives are blunt. Bloody sharpen your knives are getting used. I used to like go meal prep and be like, oh, this is so much effort. Like, make your environment better, clean your kitchen, sort out your cupboards. I mean, I've recently moved back home. That's probably why I've got a lot of anger towards this situation because I've only been back home a couple of months. But I opened Mum's cupboard and I was like, how do you function? So like I was like, that's it, bin liner, chucking everything out while she was away. She came back, she had Ellie out in cupboards. I said, you can't function. I said, I can't get anything from the cupboards because everything's bloody everywhere. Sort your organisation out. If every time you open your Tupperware cupboard, it all falls out on you, do you think you're going to want to pack your lunch for the next day and deal with that? And you're laughing because you all know I'm right. No, sort it out. Lay clothes out the night out before. Prep breakfast in advance. Set reminders and alarms. If you're not drinking your water, I literally want an alarm going off on your phone every hour saying drink up, yeah? Because over time you won't need the alarm. Your brain will be the alarm. It'll tell you to drink. Yeah. Increase friction for bad habits. Log out of apps. There's a really good app. I can't remember what it's called. I used to have it when I was struggling with it. There's loads of different ones. There's loads of free where it'll block your apps after a certain time at night, for example, so you can block yourself out of everything. You can unblock it, but it is a bit of an inconvenience. Again, you're making the bad habit harder. Or you can have like time delays, max amount of time per day to scroll. And bloody hell, no one tell me you don't have time to do stuff because I will ask you to go to your screen time on your phone and you will be embarrassed. But yeah, so blocking yourself out of apps is a really easy one. Delete food delivery apps. I don't have any food delivery apps. I don't even think they deliver because I live in the absolute middle of nowhere. But don't keep trigger foods at home. Make it harder. If you've got any notifications coming through, Uber Eats, 20% off McDonald's. I mean, suddenly I want a burger. Even saying it, I want a burger. Why are you setting yourself up? Refocus. Yeah, that's the app. Thanks, Beth. Beth puts the refocus app. That's what it is to delete things. Remove distractions. Take yourself off food mailing list. Take yourself off these things because we're constantly being peppered. And the more that you order the takeaway, do the thing, what's going to happen? You're going to get more ads because they know who they're targeting. Yeah. So delete, 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 block and delete like a crazy ex. You delete them all. um, minimum effect replacement. So again, this is like the lowest hanging fruit, which I'll talk about in a second. If something's too hard, I don't mind you doing the minimum. Just do something. So a 5 minute walk instead of a workout, a protein shake instead of skipping a whole meal, a glass of water instead of perfect hydration. We all have a habit of going, well, if we can't do it all, I'm going to do nothing, which is dangerous. It's a very dangerous mindset to be in. So just because you can't do something perfectly, do the minimum, whatever the minimum looks like for you. Turning habits into systems. Again, routine removes daily decision making. Decision fatigue is one of the biggest things that we all need. And I could talk all day about decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is essentially where we've got too many responsibilities and too many decisions to make, and our brain has only got so much capacity to make decisions. We ain't got on a limitless supply. So when you're opening the fridge and going, oh, what are we going to have for dinner? When you're looking at your wardrobe, what am I going to wear? What shoes am I going to put on? Or what route should I take to work? These are all decision fatigue. You want to remove that as much as possible. I can't remember who the owner of Apple was, but like that's why he wore a white t-shirt and jeans every day for literal decades, because he wanted to remove the decision of what to wear because it made him more productive at work. So you want to remove decisions. The more decisions you're making about your life, the more tired you're going to be and the less you're going to be bothered. You know, training, for example, I know my training days. I'm not contemplating in my head, shall I go to the gym or not? It doesn't even enter my brain. They're my training days. They are what they are. Unless I'm ill, it's just what is what it is. If I have a busy day, if I have a quiet day, it really doesn't matter. Monday, Tuesday are my busiest days because it's my biggest days for one-to-one check-ins, 10 to 12 hour days. I'm now on the 13th hour today of working. I still went to train today, my lunch break, because I don't want to create a decision fatigue. Yeah, even getting your clothes out the night before, less decision fatigue. All my meals are prepped. I'm not thinking about what to eat. It honestly just alleviates so much of your life when you remove decisions. Consistency comes from structure, not motivation. Yeah, forget motivation. Yeah, I'd love to be able to drink something and be highly motivated. It doesn't exist. It just comes and goes. It mainly comes from results, but a lot of the time you're not going to be running directly off results. It's always going to come, your consistency is going to come from structure, less friction, less decision fatigue, and then your structure is going to create you to be more consistent. It's just like a loop. The more predictable your routine, the easier that adherence comes. If you know what you are doing when you are doing it, it's very easy to do because your brain's anticipating it. If you're telling yourself, I'll train after work, but you're not giving yourself a set time, you can then go into negotiation time, can't you, in your head? Because, oh, I'll go an hour later, oh, I'll go in half an hour, I'll go in this. You're going through negotiation, you're battling yourself. Boring. You're exhausting yourself. Tell yourself the time, give yourself a cut off. We all work brilliantly with deadlines. Why do you think the Elevate program is so successful? My one-to-one is initially 10 weeks. This is 8 weeks. My average client retention is 18 months. How is my average client retention 18 months when my program's 10 weeks? Because people get an optimal result from a deadline. I'm not going to just come in and, oh yeah, come in, stay as long as you need, because I'm not favoring that outcome for that client. When we go on holiday, we don't, we don't start packing our bag 10 minutes before we go to the airport because we know that flight is booked for that time, for that date. That is not going to move. That creates a deadline. It's like anything, and that's why working from home's crippled people because they spread the work out all day because they've got the laptop at home. They can work till 7, 8 o'clock, it doesn't matter. So we just spread it out. We work off deadlines. Everyone does. So you give yourself a deadline. I will be at the gym at this time. I will do this at this time. Work yourself backwards. So for me, for example, if I think, right, I want to be relaxing at 9 p.m., I don't want to open my laptop. I need to think of all the actions in the day and work back. Well, by 8 p.m., I need to have done this. By 7 p.m., I need to have done this. Create a deadline in your life. Otherwise, you just enter in negotiation and you don't want to enter negotiation with yourself. Why routines matter. It reduced. I was laughing at this picture because I tried to put pictures on to make it a little bit more interesting. And then I looked at it when I was rereading it tonight. I was like, guns, helicopters, like skull. I was like, right, well, it's not that dramatic, is it? I'm talking about habits and routines, but I was running out of content. Um, it reduces mental load. We've all got a lot of mental load. Yeah, we're all stressed out. We're all busy. We've all got it. So let's reduce that. We don't want to reduce reliance on willpower. Forget willpower. You're bloody clutching at straws, hoping trust in your willpower. We want to create automatic behaviour and we want to make discipline repeatable. And that is only going to happen through structure and routine. Fixed workout days, I've mentioned it because I always jump the gun. Same days each week, removes should I train today, builds expectation and consistency. Examples, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, weekend anchor session. You can be a little bit flexible with this. If you can train on a Monday, train on a Monday. Like I said, Monday's my busiest day of the week. I will always train on a Monday. I don't care. I will be at that gym because setting myself up for the week, I've got one session out of the way. If I don't train Monday, my week's screwing up then because then I'm training Tuesday. I can't rest on Wednesday. I might rest Thursday. It's screwing up my whole routine and mentally I won't cope very well. So if you can train Monday, get it out of the way on Monday, train Wednesday, and then you could give yourself, right, it's going to be Friday or Saturday. Don't just start the week, oh, which day should I train this week every week? Do it when it's hard. And that's why I do it on a Monday because it's very difficult on a Monday because I haven't got a lot of time. And if I just picked my easy days all the time, when would I train? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. So do it when it's hard because it makes the easy days easier, even easier, which is good. And then I like it on a Friday. I'm like, oh, I'm not like rushing back, I've got a bit more time. Same time, it's a queue. We're creating the queue. At 5 o'clock I train, 10 o'clock I train, whatever it is that works for you. Easier protecting your diary. Yeah? Less negotiation with yourself. We're not negotiating. It's an appointment. It's booked in. You're doing it. Examples before lunch, lunch break, straight after work. Again, if you can train in the mornings, I'd advise it because it's less friction, isn't it? We wake up with more energy than we do after a day's work. It's less friction. If you can train on a lunch break, if you work from home, do it. Less friction. Non-negotiable time block, and it's not optional. Yeah? You might have seen in a few of your reviews, I said to you, 2 workouts a week is not optional. It's not an option. It's 3. You came in, you knew it were 3. We do 3, and it's not me being mean or me being harsh. I think the reviews are quite hard because there's no emotion attached to them. And I'm just saying you have to do X, X, and X, you won't get a result. Because I'm not here to be therapists for the group. But it's not mood dependent. Don't Nothing should be mood dependent. Yeah, remove the emotions out of it. Consistent meals, similar breakfast, repeatable lunches, reduces decision fatigue. I know it's boring. I never said it weren't going to be boring, but every morning I wake up, I'm never thinking, oh, what shall I have for breakfast? It doesn't even cross my mind. I just go into autopilot and cook my breakfast. I think, oh God, what's for lunch? I just eat the lunch that I've been eating for years because you've got to obviously enjoy it, to change certain things about it, but don't go through every day trying to create new recipes and create, like, God, no. You'll just be decision fatigue's final boss in that situation. It's going to be easier to track, it's going to be easier to prep, and it's going to be easier to adhere. Similar meal timings as well. Again, it's not something I really specifically do with a group, but give your body the cue. It's like if you've got a dog, he or the she. I mean, mine certainly knows when he's due his biscuits because he gets them every day. We want to be know when we do food rather than, oh, one night I might eat dinner at 5, then I might eat at 9. And then you're wondering why your hunger's all over its shop because you're not consistently fueling yourself at the same times. Um, Routines are always going to protect you on busy days. The decision's already made. And I always say that to myself. If I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to do my steps. I think, well, the decision's already made. This is not really up for negotiation. Talk to yourself in your brain. Less emotional negotiation. Minimum standards are easier to hit. And then look forward to rest days that feel deserved rather than feeling you never rest because you're pushing things back. Then people go, oh, I never have a break. I just never have a rest because they're constantly just shuffling the routine around all the time and they're never giving themselves permission to rest because they just sit there with guilt, which is not mental rest. It's exhaustion. Um, Key habit change principle. Behavior change is not discipline, it's design. So discipline comes from design. Design your environment to win. Yeah, it's all done by design. Nothing's just by chance. We don't fall into the gym. We don't fall into a chicken salad. Like everything's a decision. It's a behavior. It's not just a random. The common mistakes that you'll make when you try to change your habits, trying to remove habits entirely. No sugar for 30 days. Oh, I'm not going to eat chocolate for 3 months. Oh, I'm going to train every day. Like, no. Ignoring emotional triggers, sitting there and just wishing that you just didn't feel that way and just hoping that the thought would go away. Relying on motivation. Oh, I'm going to start Monday. Why does everyone start Monday? Oh, I'm going to start in January. And I do a group call. I do a group coaching every January because I know how everyone works. Do you think if I ran a group coaching, right, let's start on the 10th of December? No, it would be a shit show. But that's how the brain works. Making habits too complex. People will go, right, new year, new me. I'm going to do a 10-step skincare routine. I'm going to do 2 hours of yoga. I'm going to drink a greens juice. I'm going to do a hike, and then I'm going to go to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. No, stop making like these big, excessive routines that you simply don't need. Stop watching a day in the lives of a 21-year-old who's got no responsibilities, who can just spend all day looking after herself. You know, don't make things too complex. Don't make habits, rituals, routines too complex. Pick one thing and do it. Don't try to change your life overnight because if you could do that, then we'd all do it, wouldn't we? How to build habits. Obviously, make the cue obvious, make the response easy, make the reward satisfying, something that you enjoy, and just keep repeating. Rinse and repeat. Habit stacking, really important. Do things at the same time. So, brush your teeth, you could stretch. Or what I like to do when I'm brushing my teeth is mentally set myself up for the day. And what I like to do, I like to do a lot of future pacing, which I said, but I think, oh, look forward to this evening. I'll have a big achievement day. I'll do all my check-ins. I'll hit a PB on the leg press. And like while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm setting my mental intentions for the day and telling myself what I'm going to achieve in that day. Essentially, I guess it is manifesting or whatever it is, but I tell myself what I'm going to achieve. Or you can spend 2 minutes thinking, right, what do I really like about myself? Struggling with self-confidence. I'm funny, I'm really kind, I'm a good friend. Start habit stacking. So get your mental awareness in while you're doing something that you already do every single day, such as brushing your teeth. When you're cooking dinner, bang on my Q&A. You'll get a new video every week from me, which is separate to this, which is a Q&As. Do it. Don't try to think, right, I need an hour and a half free to sit and listen to Sophie. Put the phone up while you're cooking dinner. Do it while you're doing something else. Put your AirPods in, put it on while you're driving. Habit stack while you're already doing something. Educate yourself. Morning coffee, water intake. So you have your coffee, get half a litre of water, do it at the same time. If you know that you speak to a friend or a family member, when they ring you, put your shoes on and go out for a walk. When I weren't living at home, they were the good days. My mum would ring me every day and I'd go, 1 sec, let me just put my shoes on because I know I'd be on for an hour, put my shoes on. So I knew that it was just habitual. She rings, I put my shoes on. I'm doing two things at once. Stack your habits. Do things that you want to do while you're doing something you already do anyway. If you want to listen to a meditation or an affirmation, like put it on when you're in the shower. Relaxation techniques. There's so much you could do in terms of habit stacking. Lowest hanging fruit. Pick the lowest hanging fruit. Sometimes you've just got to do the easiest thing. Do something instead of nothing. Choose the easiest action available. Remove the all or nothing mindset. Progress will always continue even on bad days. I'd much rather a client come to me and say, I didn't hit, I don't know, 8,000 steps, whatever I've got them targeted on. But I went outside for a 40-minute walk. That was the only 40 minutes that I had for today. I drank all my water and I've got my workout plan for tomorrow because it's showing intention of the habit rather than I've had a shit week. I've not bothered tracking my food. I've not done all my workouts. Let's start again Monday. I'm feeling better now. Let's start again. Oh, no. That like everything going bad and oh yeah, we'll just do it on Monday. I just had a um client when I did my coaching today. She's on holiday at the moment in an all-inclusive. And she said, "Oh, food's been terrible, but I'll be better back on it on Friday when I meal prep." So I said in the review, "Well, no, it's Tuesday. Why we just told ourselves food's going to be shit for the rest of the week? We've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Rather than all your food being shit, let's focus on, for example, do you like a dessert? Do you like a wine? Pick something that you're going to like, really. You're on holiday at the end of the day, but not this self-sabotage of let's just go mad because it's all right, we're coming back on Friday. Because this lifestyle doesn't finish when you're on holiday. I don't go on holiday and think, right, this is me. I'm laying down 12 hours a day. I'm not going to eat any protein. I'm not going to drink any water. Like, I don't think like that because it's been so instilled in me that when I'm going to the buffet, I think, oh, let's get some boiled eggs. I want a croissant. I might not eat that on a day to day, so I'll have that, but I'll make sure I have a bit of my protein. I'll fill a bit of fruit up for volume. You don't just switch off, and that's what we want to create. Lifestyle change. Um, why all or nothing fails. You miss one action and you give up entirely. If I can't do it properly, I won't do it at all. Perfection becomes the enemy of progress. One imperfect day turns into quitting. We don't need to worry about doing it all. To win the election, you don't need 100% of the votes, do you? I mean, look at Brexit. What was it? 52? 52, 48 or something? You didn't need all the votes. Either way, the person to win doesn't need all the votes. You just need the majority. You just need to be in the majority of things majority of the time to get the outcome. Not 100%. God, I love the lowest hanging fruit theory. I've got three different pictures of trees and three different slides on it. Um, when full effort isn't possible, pick the smallest, easiest version, maintain the habit loop, and protect consistency at all costs. We want consistency at all costs. All or nothing thinking, I don't have the time for the gym, I'll just skip it. 10-minute walk, do some home mobility or home yoga, go and do half the session. Today, for example, I was short of time today, and usually, oh, what did I have today? Legs, horrible. Um, Usually my session lasts a lot longer, but I just simply did not have the time today. I literally had about 45 minutes. Usually my sessions are a lot longer. So I went in and I thought, right, there's no pressure. Let's just see what we can get through in 45 minutes. And I just took a set off each exercise and I didn't do as much walking on the treadmill. So I just made sure I pushed really hard on the 1 to 2 sets I did per exercise. Am I sitting here tonight feeling like all this guilt? No, because I've done like half my session because I did something. It'd been so easy for me just to sack that off and not get in the car and have to drive 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back and take up all this time in my day. But just doing something rather than doing nothing at all. I forgot to log breakfast, so I won't log today. Log remaining meals, estimate your breakfast rather than skipping, maintain the tracking habit. Oh, I'm going out for a meal, I'm not going to bother logging it, I don't know what it is. I've taught you how to log. Go onto MyFitnessPal, type in something similar, think of the ingredients, take a picture of your meal and log it 2 days later. What makes me laugh, again, I talk about my one-to-one a lot because obviously I do more coaching with them. But sometimes one of the questions is, um, have you drank any alcohol? And loads of times say, I'll see it, half a bottle of wine, 4 vodkas, whatever, didn't bother tracking it. You know what you've drank. While you're writing the form, go into the MyFitnessPal and put it in. Like, oh, oh yeah, had a double cheeseburger from Mackey's but didn't bother tracking it. You know you've had it, just go back and track it. Oh, bloody hell. So yeah, just go back. You don't have to be instantly in that moment. If you're forgetting things, go back and just pop them in. Um, Today's too chaotic to stick to anything. Again, it might just be that you go on an outdoor walk, you hit your water, you do something. It's always going to be better than doing nothing. Like I just said, you don't need every vote to win the election, you just need the majority. Yeah? Oh my God, this lowest hang I'm bored of myself. It is so the lowest hanging fruit is a safety net. So we use it on hard days. We don't use it every day. We use it during stress. We use it during travel. We use it when motivation is low. Yeah. And there's so many little habitual things that you can do that you might not think about. For example, like going on holiday. So when I used to go on holiday, what did I do? Pub, pints. My holiday had started until my foot went through that Manchester airport, which I'm sure it happens for a lot of people. Whereas now, I actually use it as an opportunity to get my steps in. And I know it sounds really sad, but you've got all that time waiting. I can just absolutely kill my step count off in that airport. And then, yeah, I might have a glass of wine on plane. And again, it's that habitual thing that you start changing cues and triggers that you do in certain environments. Airport being a good one, and then obviously with drinking and things like that. Like I said to my client today, don't heavily drink while you're away because while you're away, you feel relaxed. As soon as you come back, you feel horrendous. You don't feel like you've actually had that relax, so taper it off before the end. But the lowest hanging fruit is great as a safety net. I know it removes the lowest hanging fruit. Just say to yourself, what's the minimum I can do today and still feel satisfied with my day? Walk up and down the platform waiting for trains, a great one. And another one, if kids have got after school classes and things like that. I told this a client once and she was like, I never thought of that. Her little girl had ballet and all the mums would like sit there. And I said, just walk round while you're watching her. Walk round, if you got kids that play football or rugby and stuff like that. Habit stacking, doing things like just be a bit more conscious of your time. Um, no failure narrative. We don't need to restart on Monday. Habits stay intact. Identity stays consistent. Again, we don't want to remove it. Full workout, 3 exercises only. Not a perfect meal, something balanced. Not a full prep protein shake. Again, shrinking it, not removing it. Instant versus delayed gratification. Instant gratification is a reward now. Most of us live our lives on instant gratification. Online shopping, for example. Instant gratification. Delayed gratification gives you the reward later. We want to do a majority of our actions with a delayed gratification. We're going to get the reward, we're just not going to get it right now. That is the only difference. The brain naturally prefers instant rewards. Of course we do. Bad habits usually win short term, and good habits are going to win long term. Examples, again, all these are immediate instant gratification. We don't scroll our phone and 2 days later think, oh God, I really enjoyed scrolling my phone on Friday night. No, it was instant gratification. Online shopping, endorphins. I used to just have a shoe addiction because I was like, at least shoes can't make me look fat if I just buy loads of shoes. And bloody buying shoes all the time. Nightmare. Um, Delayed gratification. Again, exercise, confidence, you're gonna have fitness later, healthy eating, your body composition is gonna change, your sleep routine, energy and focus, consistent steps gonna help with fat loss over time. Habits reduce reliance on willpower. When behavior is automatic, temptation matters less, and systems beat motivation. Set your system up for success. Bad habits feel safer, immediate dopamine, minimal effort, strong emotional payoff, no delay between action and reward. So maybe put a delay in. Stress, snack, instant relief, no waiting, no effort, strong reinforcement. Again, they're always going to feel hard. This process is hard, guys, and it is going to be hard. It's not meant to be easy. Yeah. So, like, when you're telling yourself it's hard, this is hard. Well, yeah, I hope so, because it's meant to be. If it was easy, it should be easy. I need to change your macros. But reward is delayed, effort is required up front, no immediate visible payoff. Brain hasn't learned the pattern yet. And motivation comes from a result. When we want to be motivated about something, you can't be motivated if you sat there overweight, unhappy, and lethargic. You're not going to be motivated. Motivation comes from an outcome. Realize that. So that's why me being so consistent with the gym, I'm highly motivated to train because I've seen the result that it's created. Why would I not want more of that? It's a proven system. I've proved it to myself. So why would I not want to keep doing it? At the start, was I motivated? Absolutely not. Probably took me about 12 months to get into a gym routine because I had no result. And it's going to come from result. Again, gym session today, you're going to have no visible change tomorrow, but obviously repeated session, things are going to change over time. Build a reward system, very important. Behaviors happen daily, focus on what you can control. Stop buying yourself shit you don't need, unless it's in a reward system. Reward hitting workouts for the week with a pair of leggings. If you want something, put it on the back burner. For example, I wanted a new air fryer and I went online to buy one and I thought, no, create a reward system. If I hit my macros for the week, I get my air fryer. And it honestly, it creates such a strong sense of dopamine reinforcement. Reward, I put it here, reward consistent tracking with an air fryer because that's what I did. Reward sticking to a routine with a new pillow spray. If you want a new dress to go somewhere, if you want your hair doing, literally just create a reward system. Treat yourself like a kid. Do a gold star chart. I don't care. But stop just buying yourself things. Stop just doing things for yourself without creating a reward system because you feel like you deserve it and you feel a massive sense of achievement when you do that or get that reward. Non-food rewards, clothing, beauty treatments, experiences, rest days, time for yourself, all the money you've saved on takeaways at McDonald's. People go, oh, I couldn't afford £50 on a facial, but you can afford 50 quid at Pizza Hut. The 50 quid's the 50 quid. Yeah. So just change the reward to your behaviour. Doesn't reinforce food as emotional reward. It builds healthier reward associations and it makes you feel better. Track completion, not perfection. Did I show up? Was it perfect? Not was it perfect? Completion builds confidence. Perfection builds pressure. Trying to be perfect will create more pressure. We don't want more pressure. Log food, even if it's estimated. Do a shortened workout. Hit minimum standards. Completion, not perfection. Identity. Nearly done, guys. So I'll finish off with this. This is super important. Habits shape how you see yourself, and repeated actions become identity. Identity reinforces behaviour. I used to literally tell myself, I'm always going to be fat. I'm never going to be athletic. I'm never going to be confident in a gym. I'm never going to crave healthy food. And I just told myself that all the time. I mean, God, if I'd have known 10 years later, I'd have had a fitness business where I've coached over 400 women when I couldn't even get myself off the sofa to do 2,000 steps. Yeah. But I'd created this identity where I was lazy, I was fat, I was unmotivated. And your habits shape who you see yourself as. Identity is just something that we think about and we are think what other people think about us. So start telling yourself, I am consistent. I am active. I am this, I am that, and create this identity because the more that you believe it, the more that your actions are going to happen as a result. You're not going to tell yourself you're someone that commits to the gym and then you don't go to the gym. Yeah, so reinforcing that behavior re-changes your identity and how you see yourself. And it's truly life-changing and it will change the trajectory of the rest of your life. Because you'll feel like you're worthy of that promotion. You're worthy of that pay rise. You'll sack your horrible boyfriend off or your girlfriend off and get someone better because you think you deserve it. We all choose partners, jobs. We choose everything in our life based upon how we perceive ourselves. That's all that it is. It's depending on how we perceive ourselves and our worth. So if you're somebody who consistently shows up for yourself, who does the best by themselves, why would you accept, for example, a partner, anybody that wouldn't show you that themselves? Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at here? So everything that we choose in life and all our outcomes are a result of our identity and how we perceive ourselves. The car we drive, the partner we choose, the job we have. It's all identity. And the way to change the identity and how you perceive yourself is to change your actions and how you action your life and the way you speak to yourself, which is a whole other topic. But I am somebody who trains. I am someone who looks after my health. I am consistent even on bad days. Identity-based habits stick longer. And the amount of confidence and self-worth that you will get from yourself by repeatedly showing up for yourself and not breaking promises to yourself is beyond what I can, say. And I can only advise this to you guys. I can't force you to do it, but I can just speak of personal experience. Again, discipline, it's hard. That's normal. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when it's hard. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Progress isn't about perfect, it's about showing up. Motivation fades, habits and discipline will always remain. Reality check. Let's look at some statistics of the UK. Average adult in the UK walks between 3,000 and 6,000 steps per day, rather than 8,000 to 10,000, which we should be. Our ancestors were walking 22 to 25,000 a day. 22 to 25,000 a day, and the average person in the UK is walking like 4. Like, no wonder we've got all these health problems. 64% of adults in England are estimated to be overweight or living with obesity. 64%, and it's going up. It's going up and up and up. Only around a third of adults meet physical activity guidelines, and the activity guidelines of the NHS are actually laughable. Like what they what they consider a highly active person, I would probably not consider a highly active person. This isn't about blame, it's context. Most people are in the same position. Discipline is being different. It's been different to your friends. It's been different to your family. It's been different to everyone else because the majority of people are overweight or obese. The majority of people don't exercise. The majority of people don't do the steps. So you are going to be different, unfortunately. But isn't that a good thing? Because the majority are going down a not very good path. So yeah, it's going to be different when you're tracking your food and your friends are, when you're not having a drink and your friends are, when your family are having a takeaway and you're not. I don't know. I don't care to be different. I quite like it. Um, it's about trying consistently when most people don't. So yeah, you're going to be different. That's a good thing because most people are not. Discipline means doing the thing when you don't feel like it, showing up even if it's imperfect, shrinking the action but keeping the intent, staying consistent over weeks and months. You're going to get a far better result training 3 times a week for 12 months than you are 7 times a week, 1 week, 5 times, then one time, then none time. Consistency is always going to win. Again, couldn't walk 10k steps a day, you hit 7,000. You didn't feel like the gym, you did 10 minutes instead. Every step matters, progress is built from effort. Off-plan lunch, you still tracked your dinner, you forgot your breakfast, you didn't skip your tracking. Discipline keeps you in the system, you never reset to zero. We're never starting again Monday. Again, it can be strengthened over time. It gets easier over time. It's like a muscle. You build it with small reps. Daily consistency beats big efforts once in a while. Discipline supports the systems that make habits stick, and we don't come out the womb with it. You don't get people born with high discipline and high motivation. So we have to create it through our actions. Again, the identity piece, every promise you keep or break teaches your brain who you are. Your behavior is going to reinforce your belief, and your brain looks for evidence to support your story. Oh yeah, I couldn't do my workout. Yeah, I'm just going to stay fat. Yeah, I couldn't resist that chocolate. Yeah, well, I've just got no willpower. The amount of times I hear I've got no willpower, I look at a cupcake and I gain 8 pounds. God, I've heard it hundreds of times because you're telling yourself you've got no willpower, so you're not going to. When you skip the workout that you planned, when you don't track when you said you would, you don't check in with me and you said you would, if you quit after a hard day, your brain learns I don't follow through, I'm not disciplined, and I always give up. And you create that quitting mentality. And that's why Slimming World love a repeat customer because they run off that. The story that gets reinforced, I'll always be overweight. I'm just not motivated like other people. I don't have willpower. I never stick to things. Oh, we're nearly going in the dark. These are not facts. They are learned conclusions from repeated behaviour. They are not facts. Yeah, we are who we can, whoever we want to be. Again, it's so powerful, but it's also so dangerous. Your brain craves consistency. Once a belief is formed, behaviours are going to follow it. I'm so fat, I'm so lazy. Your behaviours are going to follow that because you believe it. Yeah? You start acting in alignment with the story. Identity becomes self-fulfilling. Our brain loves us to do the actions that we've told it. So it's self-fulfilling. And it's like the victim complex, which I could go on another rant about, which I'm not going to. Bad things always happen to me. I'm so unlucky. If you like Darren Brown or you watch Darren Brown, it was like quite interesting because he did a big series and he got one person that thought they were the luckiest person in the world, and they got one person that thought they were the unluckiest person in the world, and they set up scenarios for both these people exactly the same, like putting money on the floor and stuff. And the lucky person found the 50 quid note. The lucky person found this because you're perceiving yourself as a lucky person. So the same environmental things are around you, but you're perceiving it as luck, so you're taking action on that luck. And it all comes down to self-belief, and the unlucky person missed every single lucky thing that had happened to him. And it's a belief system. So you are who you are, believe. Every promise kept also reinforces identity. Small follow-throughs build trust with yourself. Trust will build confidence. Confidence changes behaviour. So it's going to work both ways. Again, it's going to feel very hard at the beginning. At the start, there is no results. There's no proof. You've not proved to yourself that training or hitting your macros works. You've not proved it because you've probably not done it consistent or long enough. Yeah. So it's very hard to do when there's no proof, there's no evidence. We love evidence, and there's also no emotional payoff. Yeah, none. There's no visible progress, there's no confidence, there's no evidence, and you're acting against your current identity. You're doing everything that your brain doesn't want you to do. So again, motivation reinforces discipline, and at the start, you're going to rely on discipline, and discipline is supported by motivation. But we know we can't rely on motivation. Quote to finish us off: discipline isn't doing hard things forever, it's doing small things consistently until they're no longer hard. And that is everything. Thank you for your patience. I know that was quite long. We went over a little bit. I'm going to need a Strepsil. Whoever said they need sugar-free Strepsils, I'm going to need them. But if there's any questions or anybody wants to add any like opinions, their own personal stories, you can unmute yourself. You can. I'll stop the recording so it'll be confidential. But if anybody wants to ask me any questions or add anything, now is your time.